In the previous video, we became familiar with the basic layout of the subterranean cuttings excavated in the solid bedrock. These cuttings were excavated before the Great Pyramid structure was assembled. Where the Great Pyramid now sits was once a construction site. Real people in the real world really did move a massive number of really heavy payloads to assemble the skyscraper we call the Great Pyramid. This building is twice as tall as the first skyscrapers built in modern times. The builders of the Great Pyramid did not use a gargantuan mega ramp of greater volume than the Great Pyramid itself to build the Great Pyramid. That fairy tale is still perpetuated by the modern-day storytellers called Egyptologists. Egyptology has never lifted a payload the weight of a full-size casing stone 1 inch. Egyptology has never made a casing stone in the manner they say it was done. Egyptology has never even cut to precision a single surface the size of a surface of a Great Pyramid casing stone. Egyptologists are willing and able to tell their stories, but are unwilling and unable to use the scientific method to substantiate their stories with valid demonstrations. In stark contrast, the original builders, who actually did what it took to build the Great Pyramid, actually performed these construction tasks innumerable times. If the construction of the Great Pyramid was left in the hands of Egyptologists, it would have never been built. In the real world, preparing the building site and bringing in a lifting device are the first steps in building tall structures. A large lifting device is brought to the building site where a modern skyscraper is to be built. These distinctive cranes lift the heavy building materials and the structural components so that a high-rise building can be assembled level by level. This is how real people in the real world really build tall buildings in modern times. Modern mankind lifts from above. The builders of the Great Pyramid lifted from below using water's property of buoyancy. The Great Pyramid was built level by level, and the stones were moved and lifted on barges to their final location using water locks. This process is explained in detail in my first book titled Lost Technologies of the Great Pyramid. Also, this construction process is depicted in our first video series available to view from our website at www.thepump.org. Some have compared the construction pump to a type of water pump designed in modern times called the hydraulic ram water pump. There are some similarities, but there are a number of differences between a ram pump and the Great Pyramid construction pump. Ram pumps use the movement of water moving down a pipe to compress air in a chamber. That air is used to push some water up higher than the source water. Let's look at how a hydraulic ram water pump operates. Ram pumps have automatic check valves and a watertight chamber. Water moves down the delivery pipe and through the ram pump and out the pump. This water is not pumped at all. Then an automatic check valve shuts and the moving water is used to compress air in the watertight chamber. After the air is compressed, an automatic check valve operates and the compressed air is used to pump some water up higher than the source water. After some water is pumped, the process repeats itself and again water moves through the ram pump, which is not pumped at all. Let's compare the configuration of a ram pump with the subterranean cuttings. We will examine both the similarities as well as the significant differences between the design of a ram pump and the design of the subterranean cuttings below the Great Pyramid. Ram pump configurations include a pipe leading down to the pump. Ram pumps have a watertight chamber, and all ram pumps have a drain that allows water that is not pumped to pass through the pump. This water is essentially wasted. These are the fundamental aspects of a ram pump. We will compare that to the subterranean cuttings below the Great Pyramid. Here is a diagram of the Great Pyramid. But for now, we are just concerned with the cuttings in the solid bedrock. For now, we will remove the Great Pyramid and just concentrate on the subterranean cuttings. We will compare these cuttings with the configuration of a hydraulic ram water pump. There is a descending passage and a watertight chamber. There is also a passage that goes up higher than the descending passage. These features are very similar to a hydraulic ram water pump. But where is the drain required for a ram pump to operate? There is a pit in the floor of the subterranean chamber, but the pit terminates into solid bedrock. There is no evidence of a drain. There is also the horizontal passage, but it too terminates into solid bedrock. There is no drain deep below the Great Pyramid necessary for a ram pump to operate. The input of the construction pump was the upper end of the descending passage, and the output of the construction pump was the passage cut into the mound of solid bedrock. The construction pump cut into the solid bedrock was not simply a large-scale hydraulic ram water pump like those conceived by modern mankind. This type of water pump is inefficient in its use of the water resource and is inconsistent with the direct physical evidence in that there is no drain for that type of water pump to operate. The cuttings below the Great Pyramid were built as planned and completed as designed to be high technology from distant antiquity. In our next video in this series, we will take a closer look at the components of the water pump built into solid bedrock. After we become familiar with the operation of the components, we will see how every aspect of the subterranean cuttings were designed and built to be a massive, sophisticated, and efficient water pumping system.